a little over a week ago, The Athletic dropped this article on Arsenal women, revealing a toxic culture at the club according to inside sources, where some players wield more power than the club itself. And I wanted to wait a little bit before I made a video on this in case more information came out. Like, I made the Mary Earps video the second those two original Guardian articles came out, and I instantly regretted it because she would not stop talking about this for days. Now, if you're an Arsenal fan, nothing in this article is actually that revelatory. Many fans have pointed out that something has been very off with the player dynamics on this team, especially regarding power. Like, I'm sorry. In what world is Beth Mead still a starter for a Champions League contender? But it's interesting to see a major publication actually investigate. So what was revealed in this article? Well, it starts out with what we know, that after Arsenal's triumphant Champions League win back in May, this season has been largely disappointing so far. Midway through the season, Arsenal are sitting in 4th in the Women's Super League, which would not qualify them for the Champions League. While they only have one loss, which was to league leaders Manchester City, they have 4 draws. Manchester United, Aston Villa, Chelsea, and Tottenham. And, quote, their goalless draw with North London rivals Tottenham Hotspur on November 17th marked the most points dropped in their first 9 league matches since 2014. And these disjointed performances are prevalent in the Champions League also. While losing to Lyon and Bayern Munich isn't something to necessarily worry about, they're two really good teams, Arsenal blew a 2-0 lead over Bayern. Reminder, a team that had a 7-1 loss to Barcelona this season. And listen, while you're talking about Arsenal's struggles this season, you can point fingers at Renée Slegers' tactics in the midfield, but it really goes farther than that. It's fair to say that Arsenal have really been underachieving for years in England despite their Champions League win. While the coaches have changed, the players have been the constant. Quote, there are still 8 players who played under Joe Montemurro who left as manager in the summer of 2021. Now, that is not necessarily a bad thing. Player retention can be a sign of a really healthy culture, actually. However, the average age of Arsenal's WSL squad is 26.9 years, but this season they have had the highest average starting 11 age in the league. 28 years and 55 days, which is around 2 years older than Chelsea, Manchester United, and Manchester City. Now, if you're not familiar with traditional player ages and averages, 28 years old is insane. Now, this is where we get to the core issue of the article. Some of the starting 11 being selected are part of this powerful player clique that seems to be undroppable no matter who the coach is. Early into the 2025-26 season, Arsenal conducted a periodic survey with their women's first team. Negative responses from multiple players reinforced a sense that squad culture needed to be addressed further. Numerous people close to the team say that the dressing room has been splintered for many years, leading to a lack of unity and some tension among players. A small group is said to wield significant influence in dressing room dynamics and decisions. Now, as the article points out, cliques aren't necessarily a horrible thing. They're at every Champions League club. It's a highly competitive environment, but it's not supposed to create a hierarchy among players. And according to this, some players feel like Arsenal's culture has done just that, created a hierarchy in the dressing room. The article points out the dressing room's horseshoe seating plan, which orders players by their time at the club. Again, this is something that could be part of a positive culture, but instead it's underlining a particular problem that Arsenal is facing. That some players are more important than others because of their image. You see, and this is crazy, the article reveals that the player-heavy power dynamic in the dressing room was thought by some to be linked to the players' newfound fame. Now, that's kind of funny. And again, Arsenal fans have been noticing this. A lot of players, particularly those who are part of the Lionesses' success at the 2022 Euros, seem to think that they're God's gift to women's football, and I'm not even joking. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, but when Beth Mead lost the 2022 Ballon d'Or to Alexia Putellas, she acted like it was some egregious conspiracy against her. Quote, I didn't think I was that invested in it until I came second, and it was so close by 1 vote. It was something like 163 points for her and 162 for me. Considering what we did at the Euros and my individual achievements, I could have won it. Mind you, the actual margin of favor for Putellas was 26 votes, and not just one. And maybe that's because Patea scored 11 goals in the Champions League, which led the competition, versus Beth Mead's 1 goal, which I kid you not, came in qualifiers against a club from Kazakhstan. And part of this is because the English media is, really British-centric when it comes to football, which in turn affects how players view football in other countries. So we get the situation where this player clique at Arsenal view themselves as above everyone else in the squad. The manager needs to do something there. And that's where Arsenal's next problem comes in. Renée Slegers has proven to be a talented manager, but, quote, some argue she is still lacking in player management skills, owing to her relative lack of experience. And player management skills is exactly what you need in this situation. And herein lies the real issue. Quote, from last season and preseason, some players gained the impression that they would be granted more playing time than they have since been given. Other players who are said to work hard in training are not rewarded with time on the pitch, giving the sense, according to one agent, that some players are untouchable. Now, I think we all know who this agent probably represents. No matter that though, because from what we have seen from this club, that agent is probably speaking to some truth. Ian Wright recently expressed his confusion, like most fans, about Arsenal's treatment of Jenna Nighswonger. Since the NWSL Rookie of the Year signed with the club in January, she has only made a total of 6 appearances. Since Arsenal is using Nighswonger as a left back instead of her natural position at midfield, she is behind longtime Arsenal servant Katie McCabe. While the Ireland star is still a good player, she is on the wrong side of 30 and is becoming more inconsistent, so the younger backup only having 6 appearances the whole calendar year is not a great sign. This means that the starting players, aka the same starting 11 that is the oldest in the Women's Super League by a big margin, aren't being held accountable and aren't being challenged for their spots. Sources inside and outside the club say the pathway for high potential young and incoming players within Arsenal's academy and those recruited straight to the first team could and should be better. Catherine Kuhl, who's still only 22, joined Roma in January, and Freya Godfrey, who's 20, moved to London City Lionesses this summer, and they are examples that many sources cite as evidence of how difficult it is for young players in the club to progress. Again, not new information, but when you put it all together, it starts to look really bad. So we're not crazy. There's a toxic culture in Arsenal's dressing room where a small percentage of the players hold a weird amount of power and significant influence over decisions and are essentially holding the club hostage. And if God forbid Slegers benches one of these players, I imagine the other players will throw a fit. I mean, we call this club Love Island FC for a reason, Actually, we don't need to imagine. We know for a fact that this has happened in the past. Before joining Manchester United, Lauren James was part of Arsenal's academy. At only the age of 14, she was too good for her age group. So Arsenal called her up to train with the senior players. And I kid you not, some of the Arsenal senior players didn't like that she was training with them, leading to her departure to United for free. The players didn't like that she was training with them and dictated a transfer. And if you watched my racism in English women's football video, you probably know what I'm about to say. The lack of diversity on the team definitely plays a role in this also. Like, the club and Claire Wheatley, who is a sporting director, seems to purposely not buy better players in order to not upset some veteran players at the club. It's how you end up buying Amanda Ilstedt at center back while Chelsea go out and buy Naomi Girma. Because God forbid you challenge Steph Catley for her spot. Like, I'm sorry, Caitlin Foord is washed. She has 1 goal contribution all season and is not benched. And look, this is a problem at other clubs too. Managers just have favorites. Like, Millie Bright was the captain for Chelsea, but oh my god, she has been heinous this year. And for a while, Sonia Bonpastor refused to bench her, which literally cost Chelsea points in the league. But Bonpastor finally did bench Bright, which allowed Chelsea to hold Barcelona to a draw. And Bright is a really recent development. We have known that Arsenal has a winger problem for the past 3 years. And what do? They get Chloe Lacasse. This team's not serious. Now, they did spend $1 million on Olivia Smith. Okay, I see you, improvement, and then they barely start her. Right. And as I am writing the script, it is reported that Nighswonger is looking to leave the club in the January transfer window. Arsenal are looking to replace her with, wait for it, another blonde Swede. You may not like it, but he is evergreen. In all seriousness, Arsenal have been linked with right back Smilo Holmberg, who is one of the best prospects in the world right now and could contribute right away. Keyword being could. She could be a rotation player behind Emily Fox at right back, but based on how this club operates with young backups, do you really think she'd get that much playing time? Especially if the left fullback is Katie McCabe? No. McCabe is complacent as the club really hasn't brought anybody to compete with her. Like, Taylor Haynes is a good player, but she's not really given the chance at left back to compete with McCabe. And Nighswonger is already leaving the club. Remember, real sources inside and near the club have told The Athletic that players who are putting in the work and training are not getting rewarded with playing time on the pitch. So the end result is the season we are seeing right now from Arsenal. An aging, inconsistent squad full of complacent players. The club isn't bringing in world-class players to actually challenge for starting roles, just young prospects to be backups because God forbid a 30-year-old gets benched. They are so scared of upsetting these players who are in this powerful clique the article keeps talking about, who again, apparently, fame has gotten to their heads. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have you seen any instances of what this article is talking about? What is your reaction to it? And of course, if you enjoyed this video, leaving a like would mean a lot as these videos take a long time to make, and obviously subscribe if you want to.